let's talk about arguably. I'm gonna. Do you think it's an overreaction to say that they were one of, if not the most disappointing team last year?
Ooh.
Personally, for
Yeah.
me, yes.
Yeah.
Because the way that we talked about Trevor Lawrence heading into that year, Calvin Ridley blowing up at training camp, be like, look at the speed, look like everyone was running in slow motion. We added Calvin Ridley. Oh man, they're gonna be so good this year. They made that run the year prior. They faced against the Chiefs. This just and they had the division. It just ended so in such disappointment. And this is why you look at this year and go, I think you look at coaching. That's a little bit of a, all right, do we have the right pieces there? Because looking at it on paper, this should be a good football team. Like you look at their offensive line, you're like, okay, maybe they overpaid a good amount, for their offensive line and what the production they were getting out of them because it wasn't that great. But Trevor Lawrence still believed. We were talking about him potentially being MVP last year, right before the season started.
I think he was my
I
pick
love
to
Travis
be MVP.
Etienne. I think he's great. Brian Thomas Jr., the addition of him, I'm really excited. Getting Christian Kirk back is going to be pivotal because he was missed greatly when he was not playing.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis doesn't move the needle for me a ton. Just
Boo to you, sir.
Be more consistent. Maybe that would help a little bit. Yeah, like Evan Ingram, he's been great for Jacksonville. It's like the team has the pieces. They just did not put it together, and then injuries last year definitely didn't help, and then they blew the division. Because if they wound up winning the division last year, I think we're still talking about the Texans and how awesome they are and how up and coming of a team they are. But there's a little bit more respect on the Jaguars' name. Right now, I think it's you guys got to prove that you could do it.
Yeah.
Because last year was just such a disappointment for where the expectations were.
Trayvon Walker, he's the guy. He's got to have a leap this year.
Yeah, granted. Good point.
They took him famously first overall. He got better last year. But if they could have, if they had Aiden Hutchinson and Josh Hines Allen now on the same defensive line, we'd be like, holy shit, that's a defense you need to be scared of. So I want to see what Trayvon Walker can do, how he can grow. And there's no reason for him to not be dominant playing opposite of Josh Hines Allen. Mm-hmm. Interesting for the secondary, you signed Ron Darby, who was a little underrated when he was playing with Denver. But you got Darnell Savage, who you might be familiar with. Back end, that's what I don't want. That's where I have question marks about in terms of weakness. When you're talking about all their offensive playmakers, I like it. I like Brian Thomas. I think he and Gabe Davis are a little bit similar, and I think a lot of Bills fans were interested in Brian Thomas as a draft prospect to replace Gabe Davis. And I think we're going to find out a lot about this team and whether or not we're sold on Doug Peterson as the head coach for them moving forward. But yeah, maybe X out last year as just a weird growth
injuries.
Year. Last year should have been the season they had with Doug Peterson in his first year there. Maybe they just overperformed a little bit and they got to play the Chargers in the playoffs. So we got to watch the big collapse and then we got all excited about them.
So it was mentioned before, yes. The fact that they upgraded center with Mitch Morse, I like that. He's 32, right? So he's a bit older. I don't know how long he's going to be playing at that position, but to have stability there, yeah, that could make a sizable difference.
Yeah.
So a lot of it, I think, is going to come down. I know this is very hyperbolic, just generic, but it really is execution. Because it just seemed that we're talking about the receiving drops, right? It's just, guys, they're not catching the effing ball. So I think that if they are able to make it come together, they're competing for first place in the division. I really think that. So it's just going to be a matter of, can they do that? I think that I'm right now between 2 and 3 with the Jaguars. I have there's more upside, I think, for the Colts because again, there's so much more unknown. But I think the Jaguars, if they get back to where we all think they can be, then they're second or first place. Yeah, Darnell Savage, I don't know how much that's going to help your secondary, but
Yeah,
solid.
it's there's questions there. I would give the Jags the benefit of the doubt, but I don't trust them. They've got to earn my trust again.
Yes.
So yeah,
they're the Dolphins,
Texans, the Colts, the Jags, the Titans.
Texans, Jags, Colts, Titans. What you said?
No, Texans, Colts, Jags, Titans.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a toss up between Indy and Jacksonville, and the only reason it's a toss up is because we don't have a pulse on Anthony Richardson.
Yes.
Yet.
So
if he played all last season, then I think it would be a little easier to determine. The way you were talking about Tennessee, like I think the Jags could be competing for the first seed in this division.
Yeah.
Based on some of the talent they have, but I don't trust them yet. Yeah. They're suing some of their ex-employees for stealing $22 million from them. That type of shit trickles down.
Does it?
It trickles down. It's trickle down economics.